Laura, thanks for coming on today. This is awesome. Today it's really exciting because we're going to look at you as a professor, but you as an entrepreneur. And it's interesting because they're two very separate worlds, but they both complement each other, especially what you're doing. So talk to us about Tangent, your business that you started.
Sure. Tangent is it's a technology company, but it's also a marketing agency. And to be honest, even when you ask me that question, I struggle with exactly how to define what it is, because it evolves every day. Just when I think I've defined exactly what Tangent is and where it specializes, there's an opportunity or a client that comes on deck, and maybe that's not exactly what we do today, but the opportunity is so fantastic that you're willing to learn on the fly.
Right, and you're always saying yes and figuring it out.
But at its core, it started as a marketing agency. So it was a company originally that was started in the front room of my house.
How long ago?
It started in 2009.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's been a number of years now. But yeah, it started out of the front room of my house, where I was doing.
That's where it all starts, right?
Yeah, it's like humble beginnings.
Yeah.
But I was working for a media firm based in Los Angeles, California at the time.
Okay, so you had a full-time job.
Yeah, I had a full-time job, more than full-time job, quite frankly. I was, easily working 50, 60 hours a week at that job, because it was a startup. The media firm itself was quite established, but I was a publisher and an editorial director at that time, and I was building trade shows and online media packages for different businesses in the tech sector. So that's really the industry that I've grown up professionally in, was the tech sector.
Which is neat.
And but I started having some people contact me that had known me from the industry to say, look, I know you're working full time, but I have this need. I need help with rebranding, or I'm looking to launch a new product, and I need someone to help me do that, to define the market and establish pricing and find distributor relationships. And it got to the point where I never wanted to say no to anyone, and every opportunity seemed like a really great opportunity.
And now you're working 80 hours.
It was crazy. Like, I essentially wasn't sleeping or eating. And working from home too can be both a blessing and a curse.
So were you working at home full time at the time?
Yeah, I was. I was back and forth to Los Angeles quite a bit, but I was predominantly, the day-to-day was like 2 weeks out of the home office and 2 weeks in LA. And it just, at a certain point, one day it was, I kind of woke up and I had like 6 clients, and I was subcontracting out to graphic designers or content developers, and meeting people in parking lots and handing them payment in an envelope, and it all just seemed to be shady but awesome at the same time. But it really was. One day I woke up and I realized that I really thought to myself, like, I think there's a company here.
For sure.
And so it was weird. Tangent started as a marketing agency. It was doing consulting and helping tech companies go to market with products and services. And I was doing that. My husband as well was doing some consulting too. So we were both sort of doing it from home, and we launched Tangent from that. So we moved from our house into an office and literally was using like old bad chairs from our basement and like folding tables for people to work on.
Just starting out. That's so neat. So you were full-time. You launched. How long did it take, or you were working in your full-time, to know, okay, I can go full-time with this, with your side hustle at the time, right? How did you know? I mean, you said you woke up, but there's indicators. What were those indicators?
The indicators for me were I needed something that, I needed to feel like I had a stable amount of revenue for a nice runway of time. And so for me, the magic number initially, I first thought it was 6 months. Then I had a runway of 6 months of just revenue that I knew was guaranteed and that I could pay myself, and then the other people at the time that were helping us with those projects. And so that was a piece of it, was just revenue projection.
That's good.
And then also too, a bit of an idea, not just with the business that I currently had, but what was the goal to grow that business? And if this were to become real, where would I want it to be in 5 years? And what was it ultimately going to be, and how was it going to be different? And so it was sort of establishing all of those things. And once I felt like, I won't say all of those boxes were checked, but most of the boxes were checked, it was like, okay, I can jump off now. I will also say a turning point for me too that helped me make the decision was I became pregnant in the midst of all this too.
Of course,
like, why not?
Of course. That's every entrepreneur I talk to. It's like, and 10 other things were happening, and I decided to run my business. But that's what busy people find the time. Right.
And so that was a beautiful deciding factor as well. Just being, the idea of, I really can make something for myself and for my family. And we, my husband and I both had hoped to do this, and realizing that, okay, something's got to give. It was easy to walk away ultimately for, making money for someone else and growing their business, or really having a go at making a business for us and our family and our future. And so that really helped decide, I think, ultimately for me to take the plunge.
That's awesome, because I know there's some of you probably listening, and there's this little, voice inside you thinking, okay, I have this skill set. I don't know if people are going to buy into it. Yeah. I want to try it. I mean, you were so fortunate because you were already like building clients while a full-time job, which was fortunate. There was probably some point that you were thinking, oh my gosh, there was a little nervousness. 6 clients was great, but you may have needed 12 clients to be where you wanted to be. What advice can you give in those moments to really, we talked about this with Janet Hip and Curvy, and she was saying, I was asking when to jump. How did you feel when you actually, that first day, when you were not at your full-time job and this is it, this is the new life, how did you feel?
It's funny. I remember there was a sense of freedom. I remember feeling really good about it. Like it was time, and I had made the right decision for a lot of different reasons. Again, like for my health and my sanity, and also truly trying to make something of this potential company. And so I remember really feeling empowered by that decision at the time, and knowing that that I really felt validated that I had really waited for the right time. And then I didn't really have a whole lot of opportunity, to be honest, to dwell on it much more than just being like, okay, that was good. And then you're just in the throes of day to day. You don't really have an opportunity to put your head up and realize a whole lot more than your reality of just
you're hustling.
Are my customers happy? Am I fulfilling based on the
I'm
reputation?
Pregnant.
Oh yeah, there's that. Having a child, but it just are the employees happy? Am I growing? And do I have the right people in place? And again, it's for me it was marketing, and it still is tech and software development, and all the trials and tribulations of that. It was a lot of travel at the time, so I didn't. I remember feeling validated that it was the right choice, and then I just remember just putting my head down and
just
working.
Going, and that's awesome. And we were talking about running a marketing agency, and you said the evolution of technology has been probably huge when you first started, right? In the last 10 years, it's crazy. I think we were laughing, Instagram or certain platforms, social media alone didn't even exist, and it's a game changer for certain businesses to get their word out, right? Yep. And you're a female in the tech industry, and not to I don't really like talking about, we live in a male-dominated world in technology. It's run by male CEOs and whatnot. But the reality was, when you did start, you were one of the few females, right, trying to start a tech company. What were the challenges? How did you overcome obstacles, building your business?
Yeah, it's the industry that I worked in. So I've been in B2B essentially my entire career, selling to other businesses, and those businesses were predominantly tech businesses within office technology. And so, I was selling. I've never sold or marketed a tangible thing, like this cup that has benefits, and it's white, and we'll drink water out of it. It was always, the promise.
They're great cups.
Yes, they're fantastic, by the way. But you're selling your ideas, and you're selling, solutions to people's business problems, and the industry that I was in at the time, and it still is a little, I'm sure, was pretty heavily male-dominated. And I was young, too. I was still, when I started Tangent, I was just shy of 30 at the time.
Wow.
So it's still pretty young. And so I appreciate that, there were times where I would come into a meeting and perhaps I was met with a little bit of skepticism for those that didn't know me. I was lucky that I built my business based on reputation and doing good work, and I took that seriously. Yeah. But sure, there were times where I would walk into a boardroom and I was the only woman there. But I've seen that evolve. And quite frankly, for me, my focus has been, when I walk into those meetings and understanding who's in the room, I focus less on the gender of those people.
Well, you have to.
And more around, what are they there for? What do they want to see? Do I have a finance person in the room? Do I have an operations person in the room? Do I have someone that's there with a sales motivation? And how do I speak to that? And how do I fulfill all of those needs and objectives, as opposed to who's male and who's female? And I've just, you notice, but you
And that's good. You were like that. Did you ever find, though, was that the same in reverse for how they saw you?
Sure, I've had, like, I could tell you stories.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Well, no,
you know,
I mean, that's not important. Yeah.
But yes, there certainly were times where I felt as if, again, within those meetings when you're just, establishing who everyone is, it wasn't just about my accreditations and my ability to be there from an experience and as a professional. It was also at times where I felt that I had to validate a little bit beyond that because I was young and I was a woman, and there was a bit of that attitude of like, well, what does she know? But I can honestly tell you, it's never been a hindrance for me in getting my work done, and I certainly think it's a state of mind. I just I don't associate or attribute a whole lot of time to fretting over things like that. And again,
I think it's so important. It's so important, especially because that can get lost in who your audience is, who you're trying to impress all the time. And it was really interesting because this is something I actually had a conversation with, and it's a tough one. I was speaking to someone at Shopify and saying, how do you do this? Like, I find it much easier when I have a product and I really like it and I want to sell. Like we're talking about these mugs. Okay, if you guys want to buy these mugs, feel free. But you'd be perfect. But when it comes to selling a service or an idea, it's a whole nother world. And I found it difficult to find, how do you do that? What have you learned? So if there's anyone out there, you're not trying to sell a product, but you want to sell an idea that you're really passionate about, what advice do you give? How do you go about doing that?
Oh, that's a good question.
I'm really putting you on the spot, but this is something I think about all the time. Is that
it's an important consideration because, to be honest,
some people are product based. They
think of tech, right?
Think
of the booming industry that is tech, and that is very much based on selling intangible goods, right?
Yeah.
You're selling ideas, you're selling potential, and you are solving the problems of your consumer based on that potential.
Right.
And so, I guess my advice would be, whether it is the mug or it is this theoretical thing that you are offering someone, your ideas. That it's about understanding why they're motivated to speak to you in the first place. Why are they having the conversation? What's their problem? Or what is the opportunity within the market that they are looking to capitalize upon or solve, the problem they're looking to solve? And how can you help them do that? And I think the biggest piece for me isn't about, I've really had to hone my craft of being an excellent listener and almost to think of myself as a detective as opposed to a marketer, because I don't think I could be a marketer if I wasn't a really good detective.
I was going to say it comes hand in hand, right?
Yeah,
by listening, then you're able to.
If I didn't understand the motivations of my audience and the people that were potentially, going to retain me to do the work, and so it was always about their motivations, why they were at the table, and why they were having the conversation with me, what made their idea unique. And really researching and never tiring of the research, knowing that I could never know enough.
It's always changing, like you said.
Yeah, right? It evolves every day, and I think just understanding why people are motivated, and speak in business terms. You can get theoretical with your ideas, and they are probably fantastic. But at the end of the day, people need to understand how they're going to make money.
Okay, you just answered my question, because I hear this all the time, and I am not the greatest sometimes at this. And they're you have great ideas, but then how are you going to turn that? How are you going to monetize that?
Yep.
And I think that's that's a huge question. Obviously, we're not here. We can't obviously maybe answer it. But like you said, you have to have something tangible for your audience. I mean, you found a niche, or you found a need, which is great, the service. But it's how do you turn it into something tangible for an investor, for something to move forward?
I think you always have to approach every situation when you're talking about what you can potentially offer that customer as if there is a financial person in the room.
Right.
You have to be able to speak in those terms. You cannot shy away from numbers. I teach marketing students that tell me that they're enrolled in advertising and marketing because they hate math, and I usually follow that statement up with, marketing is mathematics, and so you truly have to be able to speak to the numbers of your idea.
I love that, and the perfect segue, because something else about Laura, which is phenomenal, and I find it so admirable, because you meet amazing entrepreneurs, and I meet all these amazing people, but you're someone really special because you've taken, working for your own business, being a mom, being an awesome, mentor. You also mentor and program programs. But then she's full-time at St. Lawrence College and teaching. What motivates you then to go back into the education system? Because you've left the education system to, create your own product, right? But you're in two worlds.
Yes.
So what's the motivation and why do you like being at the college?
I remember that the first opportunity I had to teach was sort of provided to me at a time when I didn't know that if I had any business to be teaching anyone. I remember getting the opportunity.
We all
and I was
feel
like,
that way, right? At some point.
Sure. I don't think I should teach anyone anything. But I remember being excited about it and curious. Again, I'm always open to new opportunities. And the person that presented this to me said, you'll know within 3 minutes of walking into that classroom if you love it or if you want to run screaming from the classroom. And I loved it. The energy and the enthusiasm of the learners, and I got so much out of it, and which sounds so cliche, but I'm a better business person, I am a better marketer for the time that I spend in the classroom with my students, because they inspire me and they keep me curious every day.
That's amazing.
And then in turn, I actually think that I'm a better teacher in a sense, because I still have a foot in industry, and especially within a college environment where we're very much around job-ready skills and practical applications. Yes, there's a theoretical component, there's the higher learning, but it very much is then how you apply that to get a job. I think I'm better for them because I'm still so close to industry.
That's amazing. I know firsthand I had a chance this week to be in Laura's classroom.
You're amazing.
And the students look up to her. So if you ever have the chance to be at St. Lawrence College, you might have the chance to be with Laura. So thanks for listening in, Laura. Thanks so much. It's I feel like we could talk for hours.
I think
so.
we could.
Thank you. I'm a hugger.
Claire.
Thank you. Thank you.
Awesome to be here.